All right, let's just jump right in. We're about to look at two totally different areas of research. We're talking theoretical physics and neuroscience that, believe it or not, might be pointing to the exact same absolutely mind-blowing conclusion that our reality has a source code, and we might just be on the brink of figuring out how to read it. So let's kick things off with a pretty wild question, one that comes from a fantastic article I read over on the dev community. What if the universe itself, the very fabric of reality, has its own way of fixing errors? A built-in, self-correcting bug fix. Now, if you've ever written even a single line of code, this analogy should give you chills. A try-catch block, right? It's a super basic command that catches errors so a program doesn't completely crash. So just imagine finding that same exact logic woven into the math that actually describes reality. I know, this sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie. But this idea, it doesn't come from some Hollywood script. It comes from the most complex, most mind-bending corners of modern physics. And it's so important to get this straight from the get-go. We are not talking about pseudoscience or some fringe theory here. We're talking about serious, peer-reviewed mathematical research, the kind of stuff that really pushes the absolute boundaries of what we think we know about the cosmos. So how in the world does a physicist end up finding what looks like computer code in the universe? Well, the story starts with one brilliant scientist and, honestly, one of the most ambitious theories ever thought of. This is Dr. James Gates Jr. He's a theoretical physicist, and he was working deep inside the complex equations of what's called supersymmetry and string theory when he found something that, well, just shouldn't have been there. And just as a quick refresher, string theory is this idea that everything, and I mean everything, every particle, every force, is made of these impossibly tiny vibrating strings. Different vibrations make different particles, almost like different notes on a cosmic guitar. And it's inside the math describing all of this that Dr. Gates made his discovery. And get this, he didn't just find something that kind of looked like code. No, he found a very specific, very literal type of error-correcting computer code. Just let that sink in for a second. The name itself is a mouthful. Doubly even self-dual binary linear block code. But what it does is what's so incredible. Okay, that's a whole lot of jargon, I know, but let's actually pull it apart, because it's not that complicated. Binary just means it's made of ones and zeros. Self-dual points to a kind of perfect internal symmetry. And these aren't just random mathematical things. They give this code a very, very specific job. And here is the kicker. This exact same type of code is what we humans use all around us to find and fix errors in digital data. It's the reason the information on a DVD doesn't just turn into garbage. It's a bug-fixing code, and it appears to be embedded in the fundamental equations of our universe. You know, as Dr. Gates himself said, this probably isn't just some weird mathematical coincidence. It really suggests that reality itself might be built on a deeper layer, a layer that has a built-in way of keeping itself stable and consistent. So, finding this code is, well, it's one way we might be peeking behind the curtain of reality. But what if there's another way? Maybe even a biological key? Something that lets us do the same thing, not with math, but with our own consciousness. Okay, now we're gonna take a hard left turn. We're shifting gears from the vastness of physics to the inner space of the human mind, and a really controversial research project that looked into one very mysterious chemical. Back in the 1990s, a doctor named Rick Strassman did something pretty bold. He conducted the first new government-approved human research on psychedelics in the US in more than 20 years. He focused on a chemical called DMT, a really powerful substance that our own bodies actually produce, which he famously called the spirit molecule. Now, Strassman wasn't just interested in the trippy effects of a drug. He was asking a much deeper question. Could there be a chemical switch in our brains that literally grants us access to other planes of existence? His big hypothesis, and it's a wild one, was that the pineal gland, this tiny, mysterious organ in the middle of our brain, might produce DMT at really crucial moments, like birth or death, or in states of deep meditation, and that this chemical could act like a key, opening a door for our consciousness to slip through. And the results of his study, I mean, they were just off the charts. His volunteers, all in a controlled clinical setting, consistently reported experiences that just defy any normal explanation. They weren't just seeing things. They described literally entering what felt like freestanding, independent realities, worlds filled with impossible geometry, and, most strangely of all, encountering intelligent beings that seemed to be totally autonomous. This led Strassman to propose something truly radical. What if DMT doesn't create these worlds in our mind? What if it simply changes the channel, allowing our brain to perceive what's already there? Things like parallel universes, other dimensions, or maybe even the realms where dark matter exists, all teeming with life and consciousness. Okay, let's just pause for a second. We have two totally separate threads here. A physicist finds error-correcting computer code in the math of string theory, and a medical doctor finds a chemical key in our brains that seems to unlock hidden, highly structured realities. Is it even possible they found two different doors to the same room? I mean, look at this side by side. From the physicist's perspective, reality seems to be built on a foundation of self-correcting information, a code. And from the neuroscientist's lens, a molecule in our brain might be a receiver, letting us tune in to unseen realities that people also describe as being incredibly structured and intelligent. You gotta admit, the parallels here are pretty stunning. So, after all that, what does it all mean? What is reality? If our universe is running on some kind of code, and our own brains might hold a key to perceive it directly, that just changes everything about our place in the cosmos. And that brings us to this idea. This quote from the Dev article really just nails it. Maybe we're not just passive observers looking at some dead, static universe. Maybe all our science, all our searching, maybe it's the system itself, becoming self-aware. Maybe we're the universe studying itself from the inside. And that, of course, leaves us with the biggest question of all. If physics is slowly decoding the operating system from the outside, and consciousness research is exploring it from the inside, what happens when those two paths finally meet? If we really are learning to read the source code of reality, what's the next step? It's not just reading it, right? It's understanding it. And after that? Well, that's a question for another day.